2017 not only marks 70 years of Ferrari road cars, but also 50 years of Ferrari making cars with engines in the middle. Time to take a good look at all of them. Dino 206 GT 1967, the first ever Ferrari with its engine behind the driver rather than in front. The Dino was also the first to feature just 6 cylinders. All road cars had a V12 before then. Just 152 of these 206 GTs were built, all fixed heads, with aluminium body shells. Dino 246 GT 1969, as with its predecessor, the 246 GT WASNT badged a Ferrari, it carried Dino branding instead. In place of the previous 1986cc engine was a much torquier 2418cc unit. The body shell was now made of steel, and from 1972 there was a Targa-roofed version available, the 246 GTS. Between 1969 and 1974, 3,761 Dinos were sold, so it was a big success for Ferrari. Ferrari 308 GT4 1973, one of the few runts of the Ferrari litter, the 308 GT422 was the first road car from Maranello with a V8. Styled by Bertone, the GT4 ISNT is graceful as the usual Pininfarina designed offerings, but it's still great to drive and remains one of the most accessible Ferraris. A 170 bhp 208 GT4 came in 1975 as a tax break model for the Italian market, with a 1990cc V8 in place of the usual 255 bhp 2926cc version. Ferrari 365 GT4 BB 1973, still one of the most beautiful cars ever built. The original Boxer was known as the 365 GT4 and featured a 4.4-litre flat 12. Ferrari's first car to feature a mid-mounted 12-cylinder engine, the 365 Boxer was first shown in prototype form in 1971 and went into production in 1973. With 380 bhp it was capable of a claimed 188 miles per hour. Ferrari 308 GTB GTS 1975, mechanically identical to the GT4, the two-seater, fixed-head 308 GTB was designed by Pininfarina. With 12,000 examples sold, the model would be Ferrari's biggest seller to date. A Targa Top 308 GTS arrived in 1977, then fuel injection was adopted in 1980. A turbocharged 2.0-litre 208 GTB went on sale in Italy in 1982 when the Quattro-valve also made its debut, with 4 valve heads. Ferrari 512 Boxer 1976, 3 years after it first went on sale, the 365 GT4 BB was given a capacity increase, so it now sported a 4,943cc flat 12, rated at 360 bhp. Initially this was fed by a quartet of Weber carburetors, but from 1981 this switched to Bosch fuel injection, and in the process the power was cut to 340 bhp, although the car was still claimed to be capable of 188 miles per hour. Ferrari Mondial 1980, one of the least loved Ferraris of all time, and now the entry-level model for aspiring prancing horse owners on a budget. The Mondial was always going to look awkward with its 22 configuration and an engine in the middle. The 308 GT4S replacement got 4 valve heads in 1982, a cabriolet arrived in 1983, then 2 years later came the final flourish, the Mondial T with a longitudinally mounted V8 in place of the previous transverse item. Ferrari 288 GTO 1984, think Group B and you think Ford RS200 or Audi S1 tackling crazy terrain at high speed. But this was Ferrari's contender for the ill-fated series. Its twin-turbo 2,855cc V8 generated 394 bhp and it could do 190 miles per hour. The 272 examples built are now incredibly sought after. One sold at Pebble Beach in 2016 for $2.4 million, £1.8 million. Ferrari Testarossa 1984, after the svelte designs for which Ferrari had become famous, the brutal Testarossa was an abrupt departure. With its massively wide rear and those in-your-face cooling strakes down each side, the Boxer replacement certainly had presence. With its 390 bhp 4,943cc flat 12, the Testarossa could sprint from 060 mph in 5.8 seconds on its way to a 181 miles per hour top speed. Ferrari 328 GTB GTS 1985. A decade after it arrived, the 308 GTB and GTS were treated to a bigger engine and a design refresh to become the 328. Intriguingly, while 1,345 examples of the 328 GTB were sold, more than 4 times as many open-topped cars, 6,068, were delivered. In 1986 a turbo version was introduced for the Italian market, still with the same 1,991cc engine as in the 208, but now the car was known simply as the GTB and GTS Turbo. Ferrari F40 1987. When Ferrari built a car to celebrate its 40th birthday, it didn't hold back. Even now the F40 is one of the most extreme cars ever created, with its array of scoops, slats, ducts and spoilers, along with its twin-turbo 2,936cc V8. With 478 bhp, this was the first Ferrari road car that could top the double-ton. It was rated at 201 miles per hour. Ferrari 348 TBTS 1989. Only recently has the 348 come in from the cold. When new, its driving experience and design were seen as not quite worthy of the prancing horse, but with these cars now seen as classics rather than something to be driven in anger, values have risen as buyers scramble to get inside any Ferrari, no matter what it is. And if we're honest, it's not bad to drive and quick enough with its 300 bhp V8 capable of taking it to 170 miles per hour. Ferrari F355 1994. The first car to be fitted with Ferrari's F1 paddleshift gearbox, the F355 was far prettier than the 348 that it replaced. It was also the first Ferrari road car with 5 valves per cylinder and the first with a flat underside. Buyers could choose between a fixed-head coupe, a Targa edition, the GTS, and a full convertible, the Spider. Ferrari F512M 1994. The last hurrah for the Testarossa, the F512M replaced the 512 TR in 1994. While the structure was carried over unchanged, there were major revisions for the exterior design while the mechanicals were overhauled too, so there was now 440 bhp on tap, hardly a massive increase over the previous iteration's 428 bhp. Ferrari F50 1995. Ferrari was always going to struggle to come up with something that could eclipse the F40, and sure enough, the F50 seemed rather soft in comparison. But the F50 is far rarer, with just 349 being built compared with the F40's 1,315. With its 513 bhp normally aspirated 4.7-litre V12, the F50 is a very different animal to drive, but it's no less impressive, with its carbon fiber monocoque construction. Ferrari 360M 1999. With each new generation of mid-engined V8 two-seater, Ferrari had seen a steady increase in sales. The 328 sold 7,412 units, while 8,844 examples of the 348 were sold. F355 sales stood at over 9,000, so the fact that more than 16,360 megaseconds were shifted shows just what a success it was. Honed in the wind tunnel and with aluminium construction throughout for the first time ever, the 360M was light and slippery, and it was quite brilliant to drive as a result. Ferrari Enzo 2002. The F50's successor was the closest thing to a road-going Formula One car yet to roll through the Maranello factory gates. It was designed with one aim in mind, to be the fastest Ferrari ever, and its design reflected that, along with its mechanical specification. The 5,998cc V12 put out 660 bhp, the top speed was 217 miles per hour, and it could do 062 mph in just 3.6 seconds. Ferrari F430 2004. It may have looked like little more than a facelifted 360 Modena, but the F430 was much more than that. For starters, there was an all-new V8 now displacing 4,308cc and rated at 483 bhp, while it was the first road car to be fitted with an electronically controlled differential. As with its predecessor, buyers could choose between fixed-head and Spider editions. Ferrari 458 Italia 2009. The F430 was an impressive machine, but what Ferrari did next was scarcely credible. It created a car that represented a step change over the F430. Or as we said at the time, it can hold its own in handling terms with some of the best handling cars we've ever driven, notably the Lotus Evora and Noble M600, while its performance is at a level that matches, and in many cases beats, hyper-expensive and hyper-exclusive supercars from not that long ago. Ferrari 488 GTB. To the casual observer, the 488 looks little different from the 458, but Ferrari raised the bar significantly, yet again, with a car that featured a turbocharged V8. We were bowled over by it. Ferrari's greatest achievement with a 488 GTB is not simply how fast it goes, nor is it how it has integrated turbochargers onto its mid-mounted V8 yet retained far more character than any other manufacturer that has tried artificially aspirating its engines. Nor is it that it has given the 488 all the track poise and ability of the 458 Special that went before it. No, the feat is how all of the above have been melded into what is undoubtedly today's greatest supercar. Ferrari. La Ferrari. Nobody has created more bullseyes than Ferrari. Its roster of duffers is astonishingly Spartan. Despite this, we were blown away by just how good the La Ferrari is, so it's a shame that just 500 were built plus another 209 8-biters. Our verdict: La Ferrari is a more than worthy successor to the Enzo. Indeed, it makes the old-timer feel gruesomely underachieving in most respects, and is also a much easier, far sweeter car to drive in the process. Close.